There once was a small village, nestled at the base of a towering, silent mountain. This mountain, covered in mist and mystery, had stood for centuries, seemingly unmovable, unchanging. The villagers had heard stories of its great heights, of the immense challenges one would face to reach the summit, but no one had ever dared to climb it. Some believed the mountain was cursed. Others thought it was simply impossible to conquer. Among the villagers was a young man named Aaron. He grew up with tales of adventure and heroism, and every time he looked at the mountain, something deep within him stirred. He knew that there was something more to life than the daily routines he had settled into. But every time he voiced his thoughts about climbing the mountain, people would laugh. "The mountain is too high," they would say. "You don't have the strength. It's not worth the pain." But Aaron didn't listen. He could feel that there was a reason he was drawn to it. One crisp morning, with the first light of dawn touching the peaks, Aaron packed a small bag of food and water and set out toward the mountain. His heart raced as he walked, for he knew that this was a path that few had ever dared to tread. As he approached the foot of the mountain, the mist seemed to part, and for a moment, he stood in awe of the challenge ahead. The first step was easy. His feet met solid ground, and the air was fresh and cool. But as he continued to climb, the path began to grow steeper, and the rocks beneath his feet became treacherous. His legs burned with each step, and doubt began to creep into his mind. What if they were right? What if I can't do this? But then, something remarkable happened. As he continued to ascend, he began to notice the beauty that surrounded him. The birds, the wind in the trees, the occasional flower that broke through the cracks in the rock. All these little moments of life began to remind him that the journey itself was just as important as the destination. Each step, each struggle, was shaping him in ways he never imagined. A few hours into his climb, Aaron stumbled upon an elderly man sitting on a large rock. The man's face was weathered, his clothes ragged, but his eyes held a spark of wisdom that Aaron couldn't ignore. "Are you lost, young one?" the old man asked with a grin. "I'm not lost," Aaron replied, though he wasn't entirely sure. "I'm climbing the mountain." The old man raised an eyebrow. "Ah, yes, the mountain. Many come, few reach the top. Tell me, why do you climb?" Aaron hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to prove something, to myself, to others. Or maybe I just feel like I need to know what's beyond the peak." The old man smiled. "The mountain is more than a challenge. It's a mirror. What you find at the top is only a reflection of what you carry inside. The real climb is not just with your body, but with your heart and your mind. You must be ready to face the doubts and fears you've carried with you, for they will follow you up the mountain." Aaron thought about the old man's words as he continued his climb. The higher he went, the more intense the challenge became. His legs ached, his fingers blistered as he gripped the rocks, and the wind seemed to push against him at every turn. At times he felt like giving up, but the thought of turning back felt even harder. Days passed, and what had once felt like a journey of excitement and adventure began to feel like an endless struggle. Aaron found himself facing the harsh reality of his own limitations. He had lost track of how many times he had slipped, or how many times he had thought about quitting. But in those moments when the exhaustion seemed too much to bear, he would remember the mountain's silence. It wasn't just a massive wall of stone. It was a teacher, demanding patience and resilience. One evening, as Aaron neared the summit, he found himself sitting on a rocky ledge, feeling defeated. He was so close, yet the weight of his own doubts had started to wear him down. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in a soft golden glow. But Aaron was too tired to care. Then he heard a voice, soft yet clear. "Don't give up now. You've come so far." Aaron looked up to see the old man standing beside him, as though he had never left. "I thought you were just a memory," Aaron said, amazed. The old man chuckled. "I never left. You carry me with you, just as you carry everything else you've learned." The old man sat next to Aaron, and they both watched the sky as stars began to appear. You see, the mountain was never about reaching the top. It was about the person you became along the way. Every step you took, every moment of doubt, every triumph, these things shaped you. When you reach the summit, you will see that it's not the peak that matters, but the journey you made to get there. Aaron sat in silence, realizing the truth in the old man's words. The climb had been grueling, but each obstacle had taught him something about himself. He had learned to trust his strength, to overcome his fears, and most importantly, to believe in his own ability to keep moving forward, even when the road seemed impossible. Finally, after what felt like a lifetime, Aaron reached the summit. The view was breathtaking, but more than that, it was a quiet realization that the victory wasn't in conquering the mountain. It was in having the courage to take the first step, to persevere through the hardest moments, and to never give up, no matter how difficult the path seemed. As Aaron stood there, he understood that the mountain was not just a physical challenge, but a symbol of life itself. Every person faces their own mountains, challenges, hardships, and moments of doubt. But it is in climbing those mountains, in choosing to move forward even when the journey feels impossible, that we find the strength to truly live. In the end, the mountain had not been an obstacle to conquer. It had been a mirror, reflecting the best version of himself. And as Aaron descended back to the village, he realized something profound. The true journey wasn't about reaching the top. It was about what you do with the lessons learned on the way up. It was about the courage to begin, the strength to keep going, and the wisdom to know that every step, no matter how small. Life is not about waiting for the perfect moment or the easiest path. It's about climbing step by step with all your heart.